All right, I am just about ready to go. We'll give it another minute and then we'll get into it. So you
Sounds
said
good, brother.
it's been a slower day then, a little bit bored today.
Yeah, dude, that's okay though. It's not always a bad thing, man. Sometimes it's okay to just take it easy.
Yeah, I gotcha. Definitely is nice every now and then. I feel that, especially like right now, trying to recover. I'm like, all right, I could take it a little bit slower today, just get back into the swing of things.
No COVID for you, man. Hopefully.
I hope not, but I mean, it is what it is. I mean, it's just a little cold. Um,
Yeah, I've had COVID 3 times already, dude.
really,
So
that's
yeah,
funny.
I'm over it.
I gotcha. Yeah, it's just I don't know. To me, it's just something else that people are getting sick with. So I mean,
That's it, dude. It was all overhyped.
yeah, I feel that. All right. Well, if you're ready, we start things off a little bit differently here. So, um, we're gonna go into some quick, just back and forth questions. If you're good with that.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
let's see, Zach, could you actually make the AMA polls public real quick? So we go into about 10 just rapid fire questions. We'll go through them
Yep.
and then we'll actually get into your project and everything. I think this is probably the best way to get to know the person behind, you know, behind what's going on.
Yeah,
So some of
absolutely.
them are unrelated, some are a little bit more related, but let's get into it.
Yeah.
So if you look at I think, let me make this channel public. Um, let's see, everyone should be able to view it in just a second. All right. You guys should see it as the AMA polls channel. Let me know if you can see that. Um, but firstly, all right, we're going to get into it. Netflix or Hulu? If you had to choose one, which one would it be and why?
Netflix or Hulu?
Yes.
Probably Netflix because Hulu still has commercials even if you pay for it.
That's very fair. I don't understand it at all. It's the only place I think that you can go into and pay to watch ads. Um
Yeah, they just give you like a minute less. That's all.
yeah.
Like,
uh
great, thanks.
exactly. Next up, we got would you rather owe money or owe a favor?
Um, I think I would rather owe money because that favor could be anything, bro. The money you know is definitive, and that's all you have to give, man.
It's a set amount. That's fair enough. Fair enough. It's a good explanation. Um Bitcoin or Ethereum? You had to pick if you had to pick one.
Oh man, probably Ethereum if I had to choose.
Okay. Fair enough. Is that
I
mostly
would
because the
say
network?
Ethereum only because the lead dev is super active. Satoshi's anonymous. There are other people that took his helm, so to speak, but I feel a little more confident knowing that the man out there responsible for the project is still active and alive and amongst us.
Fair enough. Um, are you more of an independent worker or more of a structured worker?
I'd say I'm a fair mix. Sometimes, depending on my line of work, dude, I got to do things on the fly, and
Hmm.
sometimes I like to have a routine. So I feel with what I do, I get a mix of everything, and I just have to improvise on the fly.
Yeah, and I know you're in kind of a special spot because I believe you're the only one on your team, correct? With
Yeah,
Arsenal.
pretty much.
Awesome. Yeah, yeah. So you're a little bit of both. I see it. Do you like plans or surprises?
Um, I would prefer surprises, actually, if I had to
Really?
pick.
Okay, so you're more a go with the flow type of guy.
Yeah, I don't. If you plan something out and then you're obligated, you might wake up that day and say, "Hey, I don't really feel like doing this anymore."
I gotcha. Fair enough. That's kind of interesting. It's always interesting to me seeing how people structure themselves because there are people that are so like structured down to the minute, and then you have someone that's like, I have no idea what my plans are, for breakfast, and
It's the
it's.
best. That's lots of leeway, man, to do whatever you want.
Fair enough. All right. Would you rather swim in the lake or the ocean, or I guess swim slash hang out at a beach or a lake?
Uh, I would rather swim in the ocean, and I know some may grimace, but it's definitely cleaner than any lake, dude, just because of the salt.
Fair enough. Yeah, that's actually very true. I love the beach. I grew up in California, so definitely a fan. Um,
Yeah, too much bacteria in the lakes, man. I'll stay away.
some lakes are nice, but then you get to a couple that are just trash. There's also like no flow of water, so it's just stagnant. Yeah, it can definitely be good if it's taken care of, but
I'll tell
I'm
you
with
what,
you.
ever since I watched Monsters Inside of Me, I'll never swim in a lake, bro.
What is that? Is
Ever
that a horror
again.
movie?
No, it's a real show where people actually ingest by either swallow or like bugs get in them or like something crawls inside of them, either by way of
From a
water.
lake?
And they have these organisms that start thriving inside of them and killing them.
Oh my. So just like
Google
parasites
it.
almost.
Yeah, dude, Monsters Inside Me. It's great. You'll love it.
Yeah, I don't know about that. It might make me never want to go into a lake again. Uh
Exactly.
physical work or mental work?
Uh, I don't know. I think both can be rewarding. You just have to find the fair balance. I mean, either one could be really taxing if you have one more than the other. So I would say both are equally important, actually.
Yes. Okay. Okay. And then what's your risk tolerance on a scale of 1 to 10?
Uh, I'm a gambling man, so I would probably say 8 or 9.
Really? Okay.
Yep.
It's rare that we get someone on here that it's up there, but that's kind of wild. 8 or 9 on your risk tolerance.
Well,
Um
here I'll give you an example. At the start of the year, do you remember Arbix Finance?
um I'm not sure. I'm not sure I
They had a
remember.
rug pull. They were on Yahoo Finance. They were all over the place.
Okay.
I dropped
Gotcha.
$80,000 in that project, and 5 days later, they hosed me.
Really? Oh my
Yep.
goodness. That
Yep.
must have been pretty
So,
devastating.
I think I was more stunned and in shock and incapable of even being upset about it. I think is what happened.
Yeah. You're like, well, I guess I made my bed. Now I gotta work with what I got.
Exactly, man. But we all
Gotcha.
know that getting into this stuff, it's like we all roll
Yeah.
the dice, I suppose. Like,
I love when people come into in here though and they're like, I say like a 1 or 2 on risk tolerance. I'm like, you're making a DeFi project. Like I don't think it's possible to have a risk tolerance of one or two
that
even in
is just
crypto.
BSing, man. At least be
Yeah.
honest with yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, I think people are a little bit desensitized to the amount of risk that we're taking here in this space. Um, would you rather get $100,000 a year for the rest of your life, or get $5 million up front?
I would probably take the 100,000 a year for the rest of my life.
Really?
Yep.
Okay, including
Guaranteed, man.
inflation.
What's that?
I said including inflation and other things that might affect that.
Yeah, even with that considered, because you could still take that money and do other things and then put it in other investments to counteract that. The 5 million up front, the government's going to take half from you right away. So that leaves you with 2.5, and then you got to stretch that out over the rest of your life. And I might live another 40, 50 years. So
All right. Well, I guess you thought that part out. Um, And then this is something a little bit unique to your situation. Usually we ask, or usually I'd ask, like, if you were, working only with one of your team members on something, what would you do? But considering you don't have any other team members, if you were able to pick one person from any other avenue to work with you on your project or something else, what would it be and who would it be with?
what would the project be, and who would it be with?
Yes. And it's okay if you say your own project. It's also okay to switch it up if the other person's bringing something different to the table.
I mean, like the developer I have, he's an awesome guy, man. He's designed quite a few things that I'm sure everybody is familiar with or possibly even used.
Hmm.
He's the one who developed my platform, and I have so many ideas, dude, and I can't wait to invite him back to build some of this other stuff that I have. So I would probably have to say him, but I can't tell you what these projects are because they're kind of game changers, and I don't want anybody to steal my thunder, man.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So we'll see him coming out in the next how long? Like how long are you thinking as far as timelines for some of these?
Well, I mean, it depends. So, like, and this is probably like closer toward the other questions, but I'll just say that, like, I've been in crypto since 2009, dude. I've
Hmm.
seen the direction things have gone. I've been in projects. The Arbix rug pull wasn't my first rug pull,
Hmm.
so and I've lost money in other projects, dude. And I feel a lot of people are losing faith in particular aspects of the space, and
Hmm.
it's just disappointing to me. Like I was in a room and some dude was like, "Yeah, I put my whole retirement in the Arbix Finance, 250 grand, and it's gone. And now at like 60, he has to go back to work." So I mean, hear stuff like that is just super sad and disappointing to me, dude. Like,
Yeah.
people work hard to put their money into these things, and you got schmucks who they're just in it for themselves, dude. The whole project that I built is based on community. Like, you see some of these projects amass the amounts of money that they do, and it just sits there in a treasury, and they keep their token afloat with it. Well, that's not doing anybody who invested any money any good. Like me,
Yeah.
like the project is designed to take the community funds and build other
Hmm.
applications that the community might have ideas for. I know I have ideas for, and pay that money back to people who actually chipped in to build these things. I just
Hmm.
think things are so backwards in the space right now.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely agree. And kind of branching from that, let's start to dig into who you are. You want to go through a quick introduction, and let's get started.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm fully doxxed. You guys can check me on the Gitbook on the project website. I'm the lead slash owner of Arsenal NFT. My name's Scott Capoon. I've been a network engineer for 10 years. I've been in crypto since 2009. Getting into crypto was just, to me, the logical evolution of technology and what's next. So I've been participating ever since. I think it has a myriad of possibilities, dude, if used right for everybody, but you got people taking advantage of people out there. I'm a tech guy through and through, but I'm pretty down to earth. I'm pretty humble. Uh, I'm kind of easygoing. I try not to let a lot frazzle me because there's plenty of other things you can be frazzled about. I'm a big picture guy. Try to keep everything in perspective. So that's about it, man.
Love it, love it. I love the part about keeping everything in, the keeping the bigger perspective in mind. Like that definitely is huge. And the fact that you were able to not get completely turned around away from crypto or away from, other things after the the rug pull that you were talking about, the 80K, because that's a
Yeah,
significant amount of money to most people. So very
it
interesting. But
is.
I'm sure you had a lot of experience with it, considering you said, I believe your white paper said you were here since early two
Oh
or
nine. I
like
had Bitcoin.
2010.
I bought 12,
Okay.
12 Bitcoin at like $200 a piece.
Really, really.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you? Can I ask? Did you sell or did you hold them?
Occasionally through the years, I think I off some at like 10 or 12,
Uh huh.
but the last eight that I had, I sold when it was up at like 60.
Really? Okay. So
Yeah.
you definitely have I'd say you're in the vast minority of people that actually held it from somewhere, from before 2010.
Nah, I mean, like, eh, I bought it at around like 200, man. And it was
Mm-hmm.
kind of like, I was debating about it for like months. And then
Yeah.
I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do this, dude. Let's just tuck
Yeah.
these away. And then I
I
had
mean,
them on Coinbase for a little bit, and I was like, "Nah, I don't like this." And then I got a personal wallet, and they were just kind of sitting there ever since, man. And occasionally I'd pull one out, and I'd be like, Bitcoin's like 10. I think I'll hose this." But I really left the last eight because I was like, "Nope, don't touch these anymore. Just let them go, man."
yeah, that's really really interesting. Okay. Okay, that's really awesome. And then I guess some of that's going into ETH in this for this next run, considering you spoke about Ethereum being
I
another
don't
big.
know. So here's what I think happens, and I'm not saying this is going to happen. This isn't financial advice, dude. But I think this right now, potentially, and maybe I'm wrong, is uh, buy the hype, sell the news.
Hmm.
So everybody's buying in because of the merge, and then all of a sudden it,
Hmm.
it spikes up huge, and all the big boys are like, "Yep, time to sell. I bought in when it hit 11, so I'm out."
Yeah, it's
So I
definitely
don't
a very
know.
common theme.
I'm apprehensive about that. I'm not just. I do some technical analysis, dude, because
Hmm.
you know, uh, for like the last year and a half, I've just been trading. I trade actually the coin I probably trade the most is farm, and everybody's gonna laugh at me, but it's kind of a surefire thing, dude. And if you know the mechanics of how it operates on the platform, you'll see why. But
Interesting.
yeah, yeah, I
I'll
like to
have
make
to.
money like anybody else,
Uh huh.
so I missed the last down cycle that Ethereum had. I was putting all my money into the project and stuff, so I really wasn't too focused on worrying about buying any other coins because at the
Hmm.
time, and it still is, my main focus is this project.
Yeah, I love it. All right, so let's get a little deeper into Arsenal and your whole NFT line that you got coming.
So it's the project is twofold. Really, there's two parts. One is a passive income ecosystem, and I pretty much from every project I've ever been in, I have taken the shortcomings of those projects and included them in the Arsenal NFT. Like before, when I was telling you about the basket of assets that just kind of sits there, and the community doesn't really get rewarded for it. Some platforms you might be able to stake and get like 20%. Ooh, that's great, 20%. When
Hmm.
in all actuality, the money they have in there. If you threw in 100 grand, 10% of that might be yours, and you're only getting 20%, dude. Like that's not fair, man.
Hmm.
The other thing is a lot of these platforms, dude, the payouts are tied to the platform's native token, its price. Well, what good does that do if you buy in at 200 and then it crashes down to $5? Okay, I'm making 300,000%. I just lost all that money. It's going to take me a year to make that back, and I still didn't make any profit. So
Hmm.
that's where Arsenal NFT differs. We have a bonding app that has a 38% discount on our native token ANFT, and 10% goes to project fees because I have a bunch of servers, and I got to pay the dev because he's actively working with me. So 10% is allocated to those things. Another 20% goes out and buys NFT at market price to keep the price afloat, and the other 70% goes in the war chest. All that war chest money, which is essentially community funds, is going to be used to build other DeFi applications in which 100% of the profits goes back to the community via stable coins. Our token is merely an IOU or some sort of promissory note that says, hey, you're holding this much ANFT. This is how much stable coins you get. And it's an every 30-day cycle. The creation of NFTs is kind of like a secondary benefit with community money. Once we get everything in place, like the liquidity pool secured, and we start building applications, if there's extra money, I do in fact want to get feedback from the community, because right now everybody's kind of relegated to whatever's out there. There's probably lots of creative people out there, they just can't draw or do art.
Hmm.
So my thought was, let's create NFTs that the community wants to see. I don't know about you, but I'm so sick of seeing apes, bro. I am so sick of it. Like, I'm over it. I think it's stupid. But there's so many other use cases for NFTs, like actual use cases, not just art. And don't get
Hmm.
me wrong, dude. Art's good. People like art. It's very subjective. But let's build some community NFTs. Like somebody might have an idea for XYZ. We go on the snapshot.org page and we vote on it and we bring it to life, and then it gets randomly awarded to somebody that's holding ANFT for free, and then they can do whatever they want with it.
Hmm. Yeah, it's kind of an interesting look, and I think we're definitely moving into that more use case based NFT model very very quickly now. I think people are starting. I think that's where the next bull run is headed. As far as the next NFT bull run is going to be more focused on, what uses that this NFT can provide for a specific ecosystem. So I definitely think you're on the forefront of that. So that's really solid. Um,
Yeah.
can you touch up on the whole bonding mechanism and kind of go into that because especially for people that haven't heard of Arsenal NFTs, it'd be good to kind of touch up on that and how everything works.
Yeah, no sweat. So basically, what happens is on the main application on the site, you trade USDCE for our native token ANFT. There's a 9-day vesting period. That means you're not going to get, right now, market price is like 35 cents or 34 cents. At a 38% discount, you can buy the token via the bonding app for 21 cents. So after that 9 days, you get that token at 21 cents. And if the price is still at 35 or higher, you've made an instant profit. But in doing so, you're also elevating the price from the 20% of the bonding app that goes out to boost the price. And you're putting another 70% of those funds into the war chest, which is our community vessel for all of us to build DeFi NFT centric applications that potentially create a passive income for all of us.
Mm-hmm. So where is that war chest? So correct me if I'm wrong. You're bonding these tokens. They're going to be
Mhm.
20% discounted, correct?
Actually, they're 38,
30, I'm sorry,
38%.
30, okay, 38% discounted from the whatever price it's listed at the time. And then from that point, 70% of that money goes into the war chest.
Yep,
Uh,
70%
okay.
goes into the war chest.
And then,
20% goes back out to Trader Joe
mm-hmm,
and buy. So, like, let's say you put in $100, right?
mm-hmm,
10% goes to project fees for the monthly cost for the servers and everything that we're running.
mm-hmm,
So $10 would go into a wallet that would go toward monthly project fees that we have. And then 20%, which would be $20, goes out and actually buys NFT from Trader Joe at the current market price, which is 35 cents, and gives that price a little boost. And then the other 70% goes into the war chest, which is the community funds that we're going to use to build other applications.
okay, gotcha. So what kind of other applications would be used in the, as far as the war chest treasury goes?
And again, dude, I
Is
really
this
wish I could. I can't, dude. I don't want anybody to steal my thunder, dude. I really have some great
No, you
ideas.
don't even have to go into detail, but is it are those projects specifically the ones that you and your dev are working on separate from Arsenal NFT?
No, no, I
Okay,
haven't even told them about any of these.
gotcha.
But once we amass the community funds to do so, then I'll pitch it to him and say, "Hey, this is what we're gonna do. How do we do
Mm-hmm.
this?" Because a lot of the ideas I have, nobody else is doing. They're pretty unique and they're kind of cutting edge. So I have no doubt that he can accomplish this, but he's probably gonna look at me and be like, "What are you trying to do here, man?"
I gotcha. Okay, that's very interesting. So, they're going into funding these other projects. Is there a way that all these projects, or a way that you've planned so far that all these separate projects will be integrated within, integrated, to each other, within each other? I
So here's
can't speak.
here's what happens.
Hmm.
Um, on the actual application for Arsenal NFT on the bonding page,
Hmm.
there's a separate category called the Spoils of War. And that Spoils of War actually tracks your rewards in real time. So, for example, it's based on the amount of ANFT you hold and the amount of ANFT that's in the liquidity pool and the bonding pool. So there's two different mechanisms. There's two different airdrops that are going to happen at the end of every 30 days to anybody who holds ANFT. The first airdrop is going to be calculated by the percentage of ANFT that you're holding in regard to max circulation. So let's say all the apps together bring in, $1,000 and you're holding 10% of the current circulating supply of ANFT,
Hmm.
then you're going to get $100 for your first airdrop. The second airdrop takes into account the profits from the apps that would be allocated to the liquidity pool and the bonding application because they're both under the ANFT contract. And all the rewards that are allocated for those two are split up evenly among everybody. So if, for example, all the combined apps made $1,000 and let's say between the liquidity pool and the bonding app was 50% of total circulating supply,
Hmm.
then that $500 would get split up evenly amongst everybody who holds ANFT. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. Gotcha. Okay, so you guys have a very
I know it's
interesting
kind of
mechanism.
confusing, but
Yeah,
I was
it's
trying to. Hmm? Hmm?
it's definitely a lot to kind of try and visualize and piece together. But I think I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Yeah, I tried to make it in a way so everybody benefits and the people who put in a little extra also benefit.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to pay in stable coins, which is what the spoils of war tracks. So if you go on there, there's a little graph that'll tell you, what your average holdings are over the last 30 days, and then it'll tell you how many token holders there currently are, what the current amount of rewards that were paid to date, and then in the bottom right hand corner, it'll tell you what your current rewards are. But since we don't have any applications that are generating revenue, if you go there, your rewards will be zero.
Gotcha. Okay, so those are down the line. Is there any kind of timeline for these other projects?
I mean, I would like to get some of these built ASAP, but again, it's all dependent on, participation in the project and what the community thinks.
Gotcha. Okay, so I know you say ASAP, but what would that mean to you? Like any rough idea of how long, like let's say your first project would be up and running?
Uh, I mean, I would definitely like within the next 6 months or so, but again,
Okay.
it depends on community participation.
Okay. Gotcha. All right. Yeah, you have a very interesting model, and it's definitely different from most things that I've seen before. Do you feel like Arsenal NFT is a big way? It's almost like uh a crowdfunding NFT project to fund a
Mhm.
lot of these new projects, correct? Or is that
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a pretty good explanation of it, more or less. I mean, I feel that there's been so many other projects in DeFi where we've all been promised that,
mm-hmm,
oh, there's this big community basket and people are going to do so many things with it, and we're going to do this and we're going to do that, and then nothing ever
mm-hmm,
comes to fruition. So, I mean, that's part of the reason that I built this platform
mm-hmm.
because I just feel like these platforms hold all this money and it just sits there and nobody does anything. But yet
Yeah.
everybody who participated in it could be benefiting from it. But for whatever reason, they just nope. Or their intentions weren't pure to begin with. Is the only
Mm-hmm.
thing that I can say.
Gotcha. And I guess with that, a lot of times you'll have bigger businesses entering, especially now, businesses are starting to enter into crypto, especially like small to mid-sized businesses. What do you feel like is kind of pushing your project ideas above, giving you that competitive advantage over some of
Well,
these other projects?
in my opinion, crypto's for the people, dude. It's not for the big corporations, dude. People get into this because they see it as a chance to get away, in my opinion, from centralized banking and crazy government overreach. This is an opportunity for people to get involved in something where they want to make money first and foremost,
Mm-hmm.
and there is a technical learning curve, but I feel that they have more opportunity in crypto than they do in the real world, as most of us do. Not that crypto's fake or anything, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But the more corporations and stuff that get into this, dude, they're just taking market share away from the little guy. If we all pooled our money together, we could do bigger things than the big guys can do because a lot of those guys, they're just doing the same things everybody else does, dude. I don't think they're doing anything competitive, so to speak. If we really wanted to, we the people all got together and said, "Hey, let's pool our money and do something fantastic." I think we definitely could, and I think it would make people stop and take a second look and be like, "Oh wow, how come we never thought about that?"
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's an interesting look, and I think crypto is definitely leading people to question some of these big corporations and what they've been doing. And I think Web 3.0, as we've seen, is really about community. So that is a very important piece that now we're able to um, fulfill. And it wasn't really possible in the 2.0 business where companies were kind of delegating what the whole path would be. Now there are pros and cons to both. Like you want a little bit of business, right? Because if you're involved 80 hours a week, you're going to know a little bit more about your project than, an investor that spent an hour researching and threw in a couple $1,000. Um,
Right.
and whereas, so there are pieces like that, but there are definitely those general overview points on what people are wanting from a certain company or project. It's super important to have the community involvement there. So I think Web 3.0 gives us a lot of room uh to work in that space. So it's really really interesting. Would you mind going a little bit more into depth behind the tokenomics, because you had a very um very interesting thing I saw in the white paper, and I wanted to see if you might elaborate on that a little bit. Just
Yeah.
the
Well,
whole.
what are you referring to specifically?
So one was the different. So you said that you would be minting any new tokens, but for every chain there would be a certain amount of tokens that you had.
Yeah. So we have tokens on the Avalanche network right now. That's the only area where we're live on technically.
Mhm.
I have tokens minted for ANFT on FTM and Binance. I haven't minted any on Ethereum yet, but 12 million tokens per chain is the max. So it's not 12 million across all; it's 12 million for each.
Yes, and I kind of understand that. Do you think that would change if bridging became more popular, or if there was something else kind of intertwined with it, kind of taking out the need for different chains?
I think so. There's all different skill levels in crypto, and I think bridging it could be, depending on somebody's skill level, a little bit more advanced than they'd like to get into. So I think
Mm-hmm.
if you do something like that and it's above somebody's comfort zone, they're immediately going to opt out. I
Mm-hmm.
tried to put things in the project, yes, that are different and new, but might be familiar and aren't as complicated. So that way, people who are just getting in the space and want to get involved have the opportunity to do so without feeling
Mm-hmm.
threatened or like, I don't know this, I don't really want to try this. So, I mean, and we've all seen how some of those bridge hacks went down. And, I'm not too warm and fuzzy with them, to be honest. And not only that, but everybody has their preferred chain for whatever the reason may be.
Mm-hmm.
You might like Avalanche for one reason, and I might like Phantom for another. So, and I think people mostly tend to gravitate mainly on the chain that they like the best. Even though they may have tokens on other chains, I feel that people are predominantly on one most of the time.
Yeah, that's fair. I do see a very broad trend, kind of turning away from the chains, and I think tech will continue. Like we're still in such an infancy stage of crypto that things are definitely moving forward in a direction that no one can completely predict, but you can definitely recognize the trends, and um definitely something I think we're moving towards, the bridging not being such a big issue, whether it be improved security like we've seen with projects like Printer Financial, or it be something else entirely.
Well,
um
I think
but
one of the problems is those bridges,
mhm,
they're too centralized. I think those bridges need to be decentralized
mhm.
to space everything out a little further. You got two huge cauldrons on either side, one and one, dude. Well, right for the picking. It's not like it's spread out. If it was a little more decentralized, you probably wouldn't have as big of issues when they did happen.
Yeah, and I think projects are now starting to find ways to combat that, and that's kind of, I think, where we're going, because it's a little bit inefficient to you know, have real businesses come into the space when they have to decide what chain they want to be on, and then they eliminate a whole handful of investors if they pick, X over Y, and so that's definitely where things are seem to be moving, but um it's a good perspective on the fact that um bridges right now are they're far too risky, and aside from some of the newer projects, and we had an AMA on with someone yesterday, that I mean I can DM you uh something about them, but they're very interesting because it kind of takes out the security issue with bridging.
Right.
So kind of interesting on the decentralization piece. But yeah, kind of moving forward, it's you also have a very interesting model as far as you have 12 million Arsenal tokens, correct?
Hmm. That's correct.
Per per what am
Per
I saying?
chain.
Sorry, per chain. With that, do you have any kind of limit to how many chains you want to branch out to? What are your thoughts there? Because it seems like the arbitrage opportunities would be extremely great if you were, you know, as you grow and new.
Well, I
Mhm,
think that's just it, man. And like you hit the nail on the head. It's all about growing. And
mhm.
again, like since we're community based, as the funds flow into the war chest, and we'll have arsenal improvement proposals. We'll talk about things as a community and say, hey, I think it'd be beneficial or behoove all of us to do this. Let's take the money and do this, and then we can put it to a vote on snapshot.org. I have a page already set up for Arsenal NFT. So, together we can come to some sort of agreement on what we want to do. Do we want to build this app, first, or do we want to expand out to this other chain and get set up over there? So, again, it's going to largely depend on A, the funds in the war chest, and B, ultimately what the community wants to do.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. And it seems like you guys are integrating the community piece. Do you mind touching up on that? On how big of a role you hope community does play in Arsenal NFT and the project as it develops?
I know that, there's people out there that have great ideas, man, but not everybody has the means to facilitate these, dude. And everything anybody has to say to me is valid because somebody might come to you and have the next big thing, and you're like, yo, as a community we can do this and we can all benefit from it because at the end of the day we've all contributed to the project. It's not like, hey, this is my idea or this is, we all have money in this together. And I just feel for a lot of the projects out there, there's no community. It's pretty much all dev and all lead, and it's just, I don't know. Like I
Hmm.
said, dude, I'm just very disappointed with a lot of the projects and some of the shenanigans that go on, and yet people try to weasel their way out of it, and investors are left holding the bag.
Yeah, I completely understand that piece. And there's definitely that balance to find, and kind of relating to that. Are you worried that these community votes could hurt the project due to that piece that I brought up earlier, not understanding kind of the reasoning behind things, or just not being as educated as the core team?
Well, if somebody doesn't understand that, and even in the Discord now, like I encourage people, hey, is everybody finding everything okay? Is everything clear? Is there something that you don't understand? Approach me, like come ask me questions. Like I even threw something out there the other night about having like a live Zoom session where we could all like talk and I could show you my desktop, and I can, if you're uncomfortable with something and you're not quite sure, sometimes it helps to have somebody show you and do it in real time so you can answer questions they might have. And you can watch a YouTube video and you might be like, okay, yeah, this makes some sense, but there's no comparison or substitute for having somebody right there walking you through it and them going, oh, now that makes sense to me now that you're talking me through this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's definitely a piece that we've tried to begin incorporating here at Cardinal House as well, because that teaching aspect is, the live questions are extremely important. It's much tougher when it's like, hey, commented on this YouTube video 2 weeks later, I got a response back for a question I had, if you do get a response back.
Right.
And yeah, so definitely a big piece. But how about for those people that don't realize that they don't know something? Because they're I'd say almost a majority of people will assume that they know why something is happening, or assume that they know the right answer without questioning. And a lot of it, I think, does come back to that ego piece. But
Right.
is there something, that some way that you would be able to mitigate the risk of having a lot of people coming in not understanding or not agreeing with something that was kind of core to the team's values or beliefs?
I mean, I don't know if I would use the word mitigate. I think, maybe it might just be a lack of understanding and figuring out what their vantage point is versus what's going on, because maybe there's just a small misunderstanding that can be cleared up. by asking a few questions, whether it be me asking them questions or them asking me questions. So I think talking things through most of the
Hmm.
time will get you where you need to be. I don't think there's any need for any sort of ruckus or anything.
Yeah, yeah, fair enough. I'm not even saying in like a negative way, but more of like a if you guys just had different opinions, how that would kind of work.
I mean, difference of opinions isn't always bad. I mean, we all
Hmm.
know nobody's going to have the same opinion as you,
Hmm.
but if somebody has a different opinion, dude, it might be beneficial to you to say, oh, you know what? I didn't think about that. I'm looking at it from a completely different perspective than you are. But now that you said it to me, I completely understand. So maybe I have to rethink this. So, I mean, that
Hmm.
goes back to the community portion, like listening to what people have to say, because we're not always right all the time, dude. Maybe somebody thought of something that I didn't, and vice versa. So, from both sides of the fence, it's important to listen and understand and hear what everybody has to say. That way, you can all get on the same page.
Hmm. Interesting approach. Definitely very, very community voting centric, which is definitely the embodiment of almost what Web3 is allowing businesses uh to accomplish. So very interesting side of that. If anyone has any other questions, feel free to drop them in here. But I do have kind of one other thing. Where is the integration between the NFTs you have and the token you have coming up? Because I know you briefly go over it in the white paper. But I'm looking um for people that maybe haven't heard anything about your NFTs at all
So
before this.
the NFTs they'll come from war chest funds as the community decides. If we vote to do XYZ and we accomplish those things, and there's extra money in the war chest, and the community says, "Hey, let's create a series of 10 NFTs," and then we'll sit down, we'll talk about it, we'll take some ideas, we'll put stuff to a vote, and then once everybody agrees, we'll hire artists from I have a couple spots, probably some freelancers maybe, or maybe some people on LinkedIn. I talked to a couple artists over there who are real big into NFTs. They have some cool pieces. I've been talking to them for a little bit, just asking them if they would be interested in creating stuff for us as a community if we agree on it. And they were more than happy to oblige when that time comes. So, as far as the NFTs go, I'm trying to keep that community focus. Like I want everyone to decide. I just don't want to create something and say, here you go. I want to hear
Mhm.
everybody's feedback and see what they want to see created and then bring something to life that the community wants. And then they'll all be distributed randomly to all token holders, as often as we do something like that.
Yeah. Okay. So, I know you mentioned the use case behind NFTs. Do you know if there will be another, like, if there will be use case behind some of these NFTs that will be coming out? Like, let's say 10, like 10 random that community says, hey, we want 10 NFTs made. You get them made, all that kind of stuff. Or will they be focused more on the art piece and supporting the project?
No, so and again, I'm not going to go into detail, but there's going to be other things down the line when we get that far that will give you special perks to do other things and other portions of projects we have that will build with community money. So it's not just going to be about the art. There are going to be surprises that come along the way,
Hmm.
but I can't really elaborate on those either because those are pretty cool.
Gotcha. Okay, and with a lot of these project ideas, because I mean, it seems like there's a good amount that you can't quite
I
discuss
have
just
about
yet.
5 or 6 written down already and already mapped out, ready to go.
Gotcha, gotcha. Do you see and I guess do you see any other projects that have been focusing on these specific things yet?
No, no, I think everybody's focused still on the art aspect and not enough on the utility. But that's what these other projects are going to focus on, the actual real life use cases of NFTs and how they interact with us, not just, hey, here's a picture of an ape, have fun.
Gotcha. Okay, very interesting. Um, and yeah, if anyone else has any other questions, is there anything that we haven't touched up on yet? Cap?
Yo, hey,
Is there anything that we haven't touched up on yet as far as Arsenal NFT and everything you guys got that we're allowed
Not,
to discuss?
I think we pretty much covered all the bases.
Okay, awesome. If anyone does have any questions, to go ahead throw them in the AMA questions chat. And we'll go through those right before we call it. But it's definitely been a very interesting. You guys have a lot, and I'm excited to hear what you have to bring as soon as you're allowed to discuss these things. I know a lot of it's
Oh, I'm
just hidden
excited to show
behind.
everyone, brother. Make no
Yeah.
mistake about it.
A lot of it's hidden behind that uh kind of black screen that you can't see past. But I'm curious to see, where your ideas are headed and all that kind of stuff once that time comes. So um yeah, let's see. I don't think anyone else. I think we kind of went through everything you guys have, and if you wouldn't mind dropping a link to Arsenal NFT down in the uh, AMA questions chat, I think people would appreciate that. I had someone asking about that earlier, or
Yeah,
no, I think
absolutely.
Zach
I'll do
Zach
that.
actually hit it. But yeah, the white paper link, if you wouldn't mind dropping that in there, that would be
Yeah,
perfect.
I'll drop them both in there, brother. I will do that.
Awesome. Well, it was really nice having you on, and I
Yeah,
hope we can
thanks,
get
man.
you
I
on
appreciate your
again.
time.
Yeah,
I had a
once.
blast.
Awesome, awesome. I'm excited to hear about the rest of the things you got coming. So, either way, guys, if you are part of the Cardinal crew, remember to hop in our Cardinal crew chat, and we'll kind of go over some other stuff related to Arsenal NFT and some deep white paper digging that we did. But if not, have a wonderful rest of your day, and we will catch you guys later. It was really nice having you.
Right.
Nice talking to you.
Thanks a lot, brother. I appreciate your time, man. Take care, guys.
You too.
See ya.